Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the October 2025 episode of the Ask Sean Show, Living Better Electrically. We come to you roughly every month or so and talk about all of the amazing benefits of electrifying our households and buildings, better health, lower cost in almost all cases, and no greenhouse gases. And uh, since we're coming up to the holiday season, this month's episode is going to focus primarily on cooking and all the great things you can do with induction stoves. And you should be able to walk away from today really comfortable that hashtag cooking with magnets, which is an induction cooktop, outperforms and is a much better experience in every way than hashtag cooking with gas. So we'll dive into that in just a moment. First, my co-host, Wayne Morgan, also from Climate Reality Project and Citizen Climate Lobby like me, and the star of our show, Sean Armstrong, the founder and managing principal of Redwood Energy, and really one of the leading voices in the entire nation for how to electrify our buildings, and especially existing buildings. Sean, take it away.
Oh, thanks, Pete. Thank you, Wayne, for your support. Okay, so if I talk quickly, I just want to let you know that we do have these booklets on Redwood Energy's website, redwoodenergy.net. They're free. And you can see here, we have like a pictorial table of contents. You can see it. It covers all the different gas-using appliances or devices you have in your life and gives you explanations on how to electrify. But we're going to focus on stoves today because it's the holiday season. To briefly introduce myself, in 1995, I came across the country. I'm from a farm in Wisconsin, and I studied at Humboldt State University in this practicum house. It's a demonstration house. 3 students a year got to live in it, and it was founded in 1978 as the Campus Center for Appropriate Technology. And at the time, we were cooking on gas. We were trying to figure out energy efficient ways, and gas is the way we were at the time. And so, like, I'm going to tell you some bad, scary things in a moment. And consider at the time, I was like cooking my toast directly over a gas flame, as if I was like burning plastic and cooking my food on it. So, learned a lot. Then these little cute Easter egg tiny homes here. This is the first net positive housing development in the country, and I got to do that when I was working as an affordable housing project manager. This is Pacific West Communities and then Danco Communities, sort of a successor organization. And then at the bottom, this is cool on the East Coast. This is being built right now in 2025. It's been under construction for like a year and a half. And it's going to have a 12-story tall solar facade. It's affordable housing for low-income seniors, all electric, passive house, solar powered. And then you can see my house in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, I think it's fun to tell a few stories to set the context. Electrified cooking has always been an exciting option. As soon as it became even possible in the late 1800s, it was such a big deal. These hydroelectric dams that Nikola Tesla, of like Tesla cars, but the guy's name, Tesla cars, is a different business. But Nikola Tesla, he created like sort of the first generators for AC power, and they set up dams on the Niagara Falls, and they started setting up electric bakeries, and that's how Triscuits came into existence. The electric biscuit, the Triscuits, baked by electricity. The electric baked biscuit, Triscuit, as well as shredded wheat. Before Kellogg and Post, they bought the business. Shredded wheat was made in this huge factory on Niagara Falls using electric heating. As it says, the cleanest, finest, and most hygienic food factory in the world, visited every year by over 100,000 persons from all parts of the inhabitable globe. Guides are furnished free. It's a big deal. Electric baking. And then, about 60 years later, at that point, the electric industries, they had gotten big. General Electric, Westinghouse, etc. And they were throwing down big amounts of money to like Mad Men advertisement campaigns to try to get in your head. So on the left-hand side, you can see this question: are you cooking the hard way? There are dozens of these. I have stacks of them. They're funny. But basically, they make you count the electric appliances you have in your kitchen, count them up, and if you are between 19 and 24, then you're a dinner duchess. High and mighty happy are you. You're ruling the kitchen in the royal way with electricity, and the results are really regal. And it goes down to being a culinary countess, a lady in waiting, or a galley slave. Didn't age very well. Yeah. The basic idea is they're trying to make you feel ashamed if you don't have enough. It's like the real American advertising. And similarly in the middle, they're doing the same thing to the guys. You want to open up your house, warm holidays, etc. It's going to be clean, it's going to be electric. You're going to have a little gold medallion on your door in the middle of that wreath telling you that you live in an all-electric home.
Hey,
Total electric.
hey, Sean.
Yeah, Wayne.
I electrified my home about 3 years ago, and one of my friends found one of those medallions on the internet and sent it to me. So now I have one of those medallions next to my front door. Yeah, you have one.
I
Okay.
collect them on eBay. I have all sorts of
Oh,
paraphernalia, like
wow.
all these advertisements and medallions and keychains. And I think it's really ironic when they send Live Better Electrically lighters for cigarettes with the ashtray. And so you're like supposed to light your cigarette with a gas butane Live Better Electrically lighter. Yeah, they're like really Happy Mealed it up, just giving you tons of stuff.
Wow.
So the goal was to be able to go all electric, particularly with cooking, which is the single largest load at 40 amps is what a stove uses. And so to get an all electric home, 1,400 square foot average house, you need about 100 amps. And so they advocated through all this advertising, and they won in 1962 a new national electrical code administered by the National Fire Protection Agency, Association, pardon me. And that said, now forevermore, all the houses in the United States get 100 amps to start right off the bat, and that is enough to be all electric. Then they hired Julia Child, the former CIA spy. She had been undercover as a pretend chef student, learning how to be a French chef in France and occupied France during World War II. And she was a spy for the CIA with that's her cover. But then she was really a pretty impressive person, 6 foot tall, big personality, and a great chef. And she could really pound that lobster down. You see the one in front of her? So this Long Island electric utility hired her for PBS back in 1963, and her career began there, and she always cooked on electric resistance. All of her cooking shows that you'll ever see her in, she's got 4 burners going. She'll set them at different temperatures, juggle them around. She talked how clean it is for her to cook on those compared to gas, which really, fills up the kitchen with a lot of air pollution, makes the windows all misty. So Julia Child, now I'm going to jump over to what I was just mentioning about how clean versus dirty it is. This is modern science. We're finished with the history lesson, and now we're doing computers and space age. In the last 10 years, we've really come to understand gas stoves in a radically different way than what we had in the 70s when we knew they were polluting, in 80s when we saw, oh, they really are polluting, in the 90s when we're like, they're just as bad as cigarettes. And to now, on the left-hand side, this study from Environmental Science and Technology, they found that the nitrogen dioxide, NOxes here, that is the kind of pollution that you find in smog. That's the constituent of smog. So they're saying, okay, a gas stove makes 21.7 nanograms of NOx per joule, per unit of energy. So then we went over to the study from one of the national labs, Argonne National Lab. They got a Ford sedan hooked up, and we said, what amount of NOx are you making? Because 2 studies have been published. We found it was essentially at their idling, they're making 35 milligrams of NOx per hour. The stove, if you had it on boil, that'd be 160 milligrams of NOx per hour. So we got the units in the same one, and we can see that means it's 4 sedans worth of nitrous oxides, the pollutant that causes smog, being poured into your kitchen while you cook on high. And if you're cooking, say, on low, it's only 1 car worth of muffler being piped into your kitchen. It's very polluting. I'm gonna read this through to you. I'm gonna emphasize this, okay? So I found out about this in 2019 and I've been banging on a pan ever since, so to speak. So the left-hand side, I'm gonna read to you. It says, I'm interviewing. I'm interviewing and say, hey, In April 2019, a New Yorker article about the hidden air pollution in our homes said that there's actual smog formation in kitchens after 20 to 30 minutes of cooking on a gas stove. Was that an exaggeration? And Dr. Brett Singer of Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, one of the leading indoor air quality scientists in our nation with like 150 papers behind his name, he says, yeah, if you add pollutants like nitrogen dioxide from gas stoves to the cooking emissions, meaning like the steam, like butter, fats that are cooking also, it's a mixture deserving of a name like smog. Although that name is already taken by outdoor air pollution. I don't think that's fair. Who says they get to own the name smog? You have kitchen smog. And then I interview another guy, say, hey, Bruce Nils, you wrote in the New York Times in May of 2019, a month later, the nitrogen dioxide, quote, can easily reach levels that would be illegal outdoors. And he says, yes, nitrogen dioxide is one of the main pollutants from gas stoves, and it is both linked to childhood asthma and otherwise healthy children, and worsens pre-existing breathing problems. That is why the EPA sets outdoor health-based standards for nitrogen dioxide. But gas stoves cause indoor nitrogen dioxide levels that can be worse than the outdoor air next to gas power plants and highways. Now, Bruce Nils doesn't have a doctorate next to his name, but he is one of the most powerful environmentalists in our country in shutting down coal plants because of the amount of outside air pollution they create. True expert in the field. And so he's giving me this data here saying, hey, look at this. The EPA's data says the dirtiest air in the United States is at 60 parts per billion, like next to a bad highway in Los Angeles. It's illegal at 100 parts per billion. There's no place in our country that has 100 parts per billion unless you go into your kitchen. And then all of a sudden, you make 20 to 60 parts per billion on an electric stove because of the butter or the oil that is being volatilized in your foods, any oils that are just in the food. That creates nitrogen dioxide. So you have low levels that are legal because under 100 parts per billion is legal outside. Inside, you get to 100 parts per billion easily just by making one dish on your gas stove. And if you're cooking a whole meal, you're starting at 190 parts per billion, twice the legal outside level, and you're going up to 1,000. And it makes you sleepy. It makes people have heart pain, like chest pain, like, feelings in their arms and shoulder, things that precede heart attacks, because that's what nitrogen dioxide does. It like starves your body of real oxygen and it burns your lungs, making it difficult for you to absorb like good clean air. So it is smog in your kitchen. I'm gonna go back to this. It is just like 4 cars, 4.5 cars worth of smog if you're cooking on high. At least 1 car, no matter what you're doing. At least 1 car, no matter what you do on a gas stove. It's just like burning muffler exhaust in your kitchen. So, if you were just to do a conventional replacement, you've heard the word, then you might go to LG, one of the leading brands in the country. GE is excellent, Samsung is excellent. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this, but if you're just LG here, there's a website. They have a $1,300 stove, they have an $1,100 stove, they have a $2,900 stove. They got a couple in between. There's different qualities, like, you might have 5 burners versus 4 burners, or this one might be a discontinued model this year, so they're putting it on steeper discount, whatever. But you should expect to spend maybe $1,000 to $2,000 on a brand new induction stove. And you can get them down close to $1,000, $1,300 in really high quality brands like LG. That's what it costs. You just put it in the same spot where your gas stove is, and you wire 240-volt electricity, a new kind of electricity that probably isn't delivered back behind the gas stove. It's the kind of electricity, higher voltage, that's also delivered to your dryer or to your EV charger potentially. 240 volt. Everywhere else in your outlet, you have 120 volt. Like every other outlet is a 120 volt outlet. That's gonna cost like $200 to $500 to deliver that new wire. It's possible that if you have an unfriendly electrician, that they're going to tell you that you have to even get a new service to your house, which you don't. There's always options. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But just so you know, if you put in the stove, you buy it for $1,000 to $2,000, you spend $200 to $500 on putting in a new wire, a new quote-unquote circuit. And this is the cheap way, the fast way, the way that I've done it ever since my mother-in-law died in the 2007 Santa Rosa fire. And that's when we dragged the stove that she'd helped us install, an old Chambers 1952 stove. It was a really cool antique, and we got it into the house. And then she died from that climate change induced fire, and we dragged it back out of the house right away, put in some metal shelving where it had been, and started cooking on two burner induction ranges starting in 2017. So if you have a gas stove here and you want to just experiment for a while, or you're a renter, they sell these like cutting boards for 40 to 70 bucks on Amazon or anywhere else that are designed specifically to go over a stove. They're sized just right. You put it on your gas stove. Don't turn on your gas stove now. You can unplug it so the electric ignition can't start the gas. And then even if you try to turn the dial, it wouldn't let gas through because the electric ignition is an aperture. It's closed tight unless electricity opens it. So just unplugging electricity succeeds in getting your gas stove to be decommissioned unless it's an old-fashioned gas stove built before 2011. Then it might have a pilot in there, and in that case, you need to go behind your gas stove and also turn off the gas. Okay, so let's say you have a nice surface there, or you're willing to use the countertop next to it. Bistrom on top, this has knobs. There's not too many models of two burner induction ranges that have knobs. Below, New Wave, it's kind of like the fancier one. It's very like specific. If you want to have your hot cocoa, as I'm drinking right now, at 145 Fahrenheit, you can go boop, 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 and it's within 5 degrees. So it's very nice that way if you have very specific cooking temperatures. You know, you want to sear at 450 or do you want to sear at 550? You know, you get to choose. Then on the right-hand side, air hood, that is the narrowest of all the single burner induction ranges out there. If you just want to get one induction to try it out, and you're like, but I have a small kitchen, I just want to throw this thing in a drawer. This thing is no thicker than like a thin laptop. It's very thin, so it's very drawer friendly. And then the wok. New Wave, same brand as there on the left. New Wave makes an excellent wok. My girlfriend of Japanese heritage, she cooks on it and she's like, it gets red hot, literally red hot. It is. It can make exactly what you want. Wok hay, which is a vaporized layer of oil that's right around the metal of the wok that steam cooks the food extra, extra hot. Even hotter than what the metal could do is the vaporized oil around it. So anyway, this wok, 1800 watts, plug it in anywhere. It makes wok hay cooking, if you're curious. Then, if you want to go a little bigger, but you still don't want to deliver a new 240 volt circuit, there are stoves being made that can plug into the outlet that you have next to the stove, the 120 volt standard kitchen outlet. This is the efficiency version. This stove can only produce 1800 watts of heat, which is a lot to keep in mind. This, for instance, 1800 watts would boil water 2.5 times faster than most gas burners can do on full blast. It's definitely twice as fast. So 1800 watts is a fast, fast boil. And they're making stoves now, Summit Appliances. November 12th is an event in Emeryville where we're unveiling them. I've been a technical consultant for no money to just help them make this happen. 3 burners, a smaller oven, 3 cubic foot oven. Keep in mind that I mentioned how when Nan died, we pulled the old-fashioned gas stove out. That gas stove had about a 2.5 cubic foot oven, and it could cook gigantic turkeys. I was a turkey farmer at the time. I had 35-pound turkeys that were coming out that we'd like pluck and put through the the scaller, then the plucker, and then the slaughtering, the whole thing. 35-pound turkeys can go into a 2.5 cubic foot oven, no problem. So this is a 3 cubic foot oven. It's actually arguably better to have a smaller oven because they heat up faster and they're easier to control when you're making pies and cookies and things. But anyway, it is more than sufficient. And they're coming in 20-inch, 24-inch, and 30-inch sizes. Then another company I've helped out is called Copper. Copper has a battery inside their stove, so they also, plug in anywhere, any old outlet, but instead of using efficiency, they have a stored electricity so that, because most of the time you're cooking on 600 watts, 1200 watts is like the average peak, and you have 1800 watts available in any outlet. Well, they take 1200 watts and they put it in the battery when you're not cooking. Then when you're cooking, you can use up to 9,600 watts. Like you could full blast every burner and just go nuts with that thing, and the battery could support it. So that's the idea behind the stove, is that it can make the last 5% of people's cooking experiences work perfectly. 1,800 watts probably would leave people disappointed every once in a while because they didn't have four burners. Or they wanted to use 2,200 watts and they only had 1,800 watts. So, they just can't boil water quite as fast as they want to with two other things cooking and something in the oven. So, this stove it has no compromises in terms of service. But the Summit stove without the battery is $1,300 to $1,800. The copper stove, just because of the battery, is $6,000. So they're selling them well in New York City condos, and they're even selling them up here. People would like to have a stove they can just plug in anywhere, get it done, have it, cook off grid when the power's out for 2 to 3 days. There's plenty of power outages up here in rural Northern California. So it's a great stove for a higher price point. The Summit stoves are a great stove at a lower price point. They offer different, levels of service. You get what you pay for. So putting those together, I want to show you how, tying this whole thing. In the beginning, it said, hey, remember in 1962, we got 100 amps delivered to houses. It allowed one house to go all electric, and that the stove is usually the highest energy demand. So we won a prize for electrifying 2 houses on 100 amps of power and including the kitchens. And I want to show you the kitchen strategy. On the left-hand side, this is all the stuff that went into the garage that got converted into the second house. You can see it up here. This is the 600 square foot garage, and then this longer house is a double wide from 1973. It's a manufactured, not very efficient house, but it's a house. So we did countertop, like I showed you, like a countertop induction, countertop oven from Oster. Just plug it in. There's an air fryer there, a coffee mixer. There's a whole bunch of countertop appliances that get all the cooking done for this new couple that just have a baby, just got born this summer. The two of them live in the 600 square foot house, 1 bedroom. Very lovely. Then over in the big house, we electrified that also. And this Mr. Cool HVAC system, heating and ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC. So it heats and cools the house, and it uses 30 amps at peak. And next to it, you see the stove, which uses 40 amps at peak. So we made a 50 amp circuit, and then we put this box, this black box, which is a smart transfer switch. What it can do is it can allow both those appliances to be using electricity at the same time, unless they get up to 40 amps of the 50 that's on the circuit, and then one or the other is going to have to turn off. And in this case, Lonnie said, I'm going to keep on cooking, and I'll have my air conditioner or heating system turn off for 10 minutes when I'm done doing this crazy maximum cooking event that I'm doing, which will probably never happen. I mean that literally, probably never will you actually use the full potential of every burner on full blast. Who would? What cooking scenario matches that? So it means that this NeoCharge circuit splitter transfer switch thing, the little NeoCharge, 200 bucks on Amazon, that allows both the appliances to operate at the same circuit at the same time in a code compliant, safe way. Even though 30 plus 40 is 70 amps, right? And this is a 50 amp circuit. So that's the trick that we employed, and we got a nice big prize, and it was like, good job, wow, 2 kitchens, the big hydraulics. And we said, yeah, one kitchen we used the countertop stuff, so it just disappeared from the load calcs because the circuits were already there, and the other one we did a circuit splitter. So that's how you could do it quickly. More than one way for you to go an electric kitchen quickly. So after we won the prize, we had a barbecue in the backyard, and here you can see a Weber 120 volt barbecue. Just plugged it into an extension cord, and I gave that to Lonnie to thank him for making his house open to us. He has a very restricted diet. He can pretty much only eat chicken. He eats chicken all the time. A couple things that go on his chicken. So he loved this barbecue because he was barbecuing in his house without having to worry about charcoal. Like no carbon monoxide poisoning, no nitrous oxides. It's just electric. So the only smoke really is the food cooking, not wood or gas cooking. So he barbecues in his house on the rainy days and outside safely with this 120 volt. On the right hand side, you can see an example of a 240 volt higher power barbecue, something that has more like the power of a real big stove. You can see in the draw or the picture here, there's a black cord in the lower right hand corner. That's a nice thick cord that's for the 240 volt electricity. And you can see, more cooking going on. There's more electricity, more heat being produced, more food being cooked. That's how that works. You can barbecue enough food for like 4 people on a 120 volt barbecue. You have a small party, or just keep it going, 5, 6, 7 people. It's just gonna be a little bit slower if you're trying to have a big old party than compared if you have a 240 volt where you just, maybe pop twice as much food off the thing. But anyway, the Weber works great. Continuing on this, like going outside for your cooking. On the left, this is a kit, standardized kits made for Tesla. You can plug into your Tesla's 120 volt outlets, cook on a 2 burner induction range or 1 burner. There's 2 burners that's in this kit here. And Rivian took it a next step, man. They have like a full kitchen that pulls out by design from the back of the Rivian with like 2 induction burners and pots and pans and drawers. And you don't have to put together a wood kit from the internet. It comes with the machine. So, yeah, and a Rivian with its like 130 kilowatt hours, you might use 2 kilowatt hours, maybe 5 kilowatt hours for a lot of cooking. So you can go out there, drive out there, and you could be feeding yourself for weeks, 2 weeks probably, and still drive home. I mean, like a long car camping trip while you're cooking on this thing. And last but not least, for the ultra wealthy, if you'd like to spend $12 million on a 120-foot long yacht, this is the Silent 120. It has a 40 kilowatt solar array up on the roof, and it has a big battery system down on the bottom. It can go 100 miles a day on the open ocean. It has inside of it seating for 12, and it has a like 6 burner induction galley for cooking. It's fabulous. It has an outside hot tub. You can see comes with it. It has a submarine that can go down to about 100 feet, electric on one side, and then they have these little micro cranes. This thing pulls out on the side, and the other micro crane on the other side drops in your Tega jet ski, electric jet skis, silent, so you can go silently approach dolphins and whales, making no noise, just jump off the side and snorkel with them. Oh, left-hand side, you can see that's a chunk of the outside galley. They have more than one place you can even cook food if you want to be outside barbecuing versus inside for a fancy meal. It has six staterooms, so you can have a big ass party. Helicopter pad for flying in. They claim they're gonna have an electric helicopter for sale, but they haven't done that yet. I don't know. That's gonna really happen. So that is, I believe, your presentation on the full scale from crazy wealthy to normal person on a budget, you know, to traumatized person who's just lost his mother-in-law to a climate change-induced wildfire. It's time to get that thing out. Or if you have a kid with asthma, or if you yourself have to take heart attack medication, if you have any pre-existing lung heart symptoms, now is the time to get rid of your gas stove. You can think of it as like 4 cars burning in your kitchen. You could think of it as like having a chain smoker in the living room. It's about equivalent to someone smoking cigarettes in the living room. You cooking over a gas stove. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. And I hope you have a really happy holiday season. And I hope that you start converting your kitchen to electric so it'll be a safer holiday for everybody.
Wow, well, fantastic. Thank you
That
so
was
much, Sean. Oh,
Thank you, Sean.
and our third co-host, Tristan, has joined us early and during Sean's show. Sean, thank you. Tristan, welcome and close us out.
Yeah, I'm ready to break up with my old flame. So
Uh,
I'm with you, Sean. Thank you so
Yay!
much. This was fantastic.
It's a pleasure. All right. Happy
Outstanding.
holidays.
Yeah,
Thanks,
happy
everyone.
holidays. See you at
Happy
the next
holidays.
Ask Sean show.
All right.